So my next article is not quite as sexy. FASB has delayed the revenue recognitions and lease standards in response to coronavirus. So we talked about this a little while ago as this was on the table, and it came out, I guess, on the 20th, May 20th, 2020 here, that FASB voted Wednesday to give private companies and not-for-profits an extra year to comply with the revenue recognitions and lease standards. So what this is resulting, well, what these rules are, and public companies have had to abide by this for 2 years now. I think it went into effect in 2018. So, but they're giving private companies and not-for-profits that haven't issued their financial statements yet or made them available for issuance to adopt this going forward in 2021 or 2020, excuse me. So for periods starting after, the leasing delays are for fiscal year starting after December 15th, 2021, and with fiscal years beginning after December 15th, 2022. But early application is permitted. So what this is where if you have a lease over a year, it kind of conforms more to the FASB standards where you actually book it on the a balance sheet as a lease opportunity or a lease obligation that's resulted there instead of just putting it as a rent. Anyway, I'd like to get your guys' idea on, I guess, was this a hard lobbying effort, I guess, or is this a needed change during these times? Do we think that small businesses and nonprofits this was too much to handle, I guess, for them?
I mean, I do think it's a lot of extra work for small businesses and not-for-profits. I haven't seen the leasing. I haven't seen how the work plays out on the leasing side yet, because that was set to be a little bit later for that zone. But I mean, in our consulting practice, that's the area we play in, is with private businesses and not-for-profits. We have seen this play out with the revenue recognition standard hitting private companies. And I guess the thing about the dates that I'm not sure I caught correctly, but are they saying because the revenue recognition standard was actually originally for most private companies was set to hit for companies with fiscal years that began after December 15th, 2018. And so, annual reporting periods that begin after December 15th, 2018. So that means that a lot of companies with calendar year ends for 2019 were already having to apply under that. We're already applying the revenue recognition standards. I mean, companies that I know of that I work with were already working through this process for their 2019 financial statements. We're sitting here in May. So many of those companies would have already had to issue their annual financial statements with this new guidance in there, with the new revenue recognition in there. So are they saying that now that was pushed back a year, as in they may not have had to do that? I mean, if they just didn't get their audit done yet, they can just not have done it. They can just wait and push that out a year. I think that's what this article is saying, but I wasn't sure I caught that right.
Yeah, it says at the end of the first paragraph, under the revenue recognition, now they will have an extra year to apply the revenue recognition standards. The effective date will now be for annual reporting periods beginning after December 15th, 2019, and interim reporting periods with annual reporting periods beginning after December 15th, 2020.
Yeah, so thanks for the help, guys, but kind of late, right?
Right.
Because that means that if you have a 2019 financial statement, then you now, under this new guidance, can wait to apply the revenue recognition standards until 2020. But if you already got your audit, we're sitting in May, right? So for any private company that already got this done, or even a not-for-profit perhaps that already got this done, this didn't help them.
You just now need to put all your revenue recognition fraud into that time period in which things were delayed. I'm kidding, don't do that. We're not advocating that. That's not what the rule said.
Well, and to be honest, it's a complex issue because that revenue recognition model that they have where you have to break down the contracts in piece is very arduous for for not-for-profits. They've had to do something in the past similar to it. They issued clarifications around what are barriers to recording the revenue in a contract or a grant proposal or in a grant document. But yeah, it does take a lot. And the leases too, there's no materiality behind those lease regulations. So every lease whether it be a coffee machine, a copier, you know, any of those, there's not a de minimis amount that applies. So everything has to be tracked now in some kind of lease schedule or amortization schedule with this new kind of lease obligation recognition. So there is a lot of work behind it and a lot of, like, I guess, you know, bookkeeping or record keeping behind it that needs to be done. So, but yeah, Ty's right. At least they gave them a little longer on the leases, not so much on the revenue recognition side.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the not-for-profits will probably be okay, because a lot of those not-for-profits have year ends that aren't calendar year ends. And of course, not for nothing, a lot of privately held for-profit companies, you know, I keep saying it's May already, you would think their financial statements are done, but we know the truth about that. A lot of privately held for-profit companies, their financial statements actually aren't done yet for 2019, or they haven't gone through whatever assurance service they might be getting under GAAP. And, you know, there's some of those that sometimes they take 10 months before they get them done. So there is a huge population of people helped by this. I just feel burned because of all the work we did with some clients that weren't helped by this because they issued timely.
Yeah, you were operating under best practices. You were doing what felt right at the time, you know?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Another example of it's not always helpful to be super timely or on top of things. You think it is, but you often find in accounting and tax rules, waiting till the last minute can often help you in a lot of ways.
That's why I never do anything until it's way too late.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a partner once tell me there was no early adoption of anything because we needed to find all the examples of the footnotes and everything else and how everybody else did it first. So let somebody else take the burden of doing it first, and then we'll see what they got in trouble for or what they did right, and we'll take that, you know.
I like that strategy. That's pretty smart.
Right. It's, you know, it reminds me of a slew of sayings. No good deed goes unpunished. Right. There's no reason to be too early and super on top of things, or you know, the path to, what was the other ones, like the path to hell is paved with good intentions. That's another.
Yeah.
or the one my mom always used to say, well, no, this one is the opposite of that idea. The one my mom used to say, no rest for the wicked, but that's not on point. That's going the opposite direction.
Yeah. The early bird gets the worm is also back.
Yeah. No rest for the wicked, I think, applies to all of our accounting colleagues who work on deadlines. And every time a deadline is kind of pushed back, and they wickedly, so to speak, you know, follow that later deadline, it seems like they're always just in this world of more and more work. I don't know. I'm stretching now, probably.
I've seen that.
Some more whiskey.